Welcome, everybody. My name is Dre's.
And I am Janae, and we want to welcome everyone to the 9th annual Through the Eyes of Art Millennial Parenting.
We are live at the Museum of Pop Culture. This 9th annual is brought to you by U.S. Bank. Special shout out to all of our partners, the Black Marriage Movement, the Chosen Few, Africa Town, One Vibe Africa, the Seattle Emerald, and so many more. We'll pull this thing together to make it a great occasion for you. Now, because of COVID, we typically do a in-person event, but because of COVID, we cannot. But do not worry. We have put a great, phenomenal event together for you, a lineup that you're not going to want to miss. We're talking millennial parenting. And when we say millennial parenting, we're saying parenting from a Black lens in the future, because I feel like this is the future. So we're going to talk about a bunch of topics. What do you got?
So we're going to talk about how to discipline your children, what age to get your kid a cell phone.
Speaking of cell phones, my daughter got a cell phone when she was about 8 years old, and we're going to talk about that. No, I'm joking. It wasn't that young. But we're going to cover a lot of topics, right? Talking about sex. There's so many different things in this generation that as a parent, you have to think about. You got to think about race. You got to think about sex. You got to think about love. You got to think about what age can they have a relationship, technology, and all those many things.
And every generation swears that their kids were worse than these kids before, and we're not here to debate that. We're just gonna sit down with a bunch of parents and have a discussion about what they've actually gone through and are dealing with as a millennial parent.
So before we get started, let me tell you what you are about to view. We have pulled together some brave, amazing couples and some singles. We have 2 panels. The first one is a marriage panel. We also have a singles panel. And then in addition to that, we've got Mashonda. You guys don't want to miss this conversation, you might know her from co-parenting with Swizz Beatz and with Alicia Keys to create like a dope family blend. We want to get the upfront information on how they did that and how do we go from a family that started in one place and blended together and is now something beautiful. So in the Black community, family looks 1,000 different ways. There's no one type of family. We think that's dope. It takes a village. We still believe that. And so we've invited some people from the village to tell their stories. So stick with us. Keep it locked right here. We'll be right back in a minute with our first panel, which is the parenting, the
married couples panel.
Yeah, whatever. You guys see, this is going to be raw and uncut. Let's get it, y'all. Peace. All right, we are back to the 9th annual Through the Eyes of Art Black History Month celebration. I am your host, Dre's, my co-host,
Janae.
All right, and we have an amazing panel here with us today. We wanted to get ourselves some specialists, and by specialists, we mean parents, right? So when we say parents, we didn't go get somebody who got a PhD in A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We wanted some folks who have been living it, doing it in real time and in real life. So first thing first, I want to welcome our panelists. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. So just for context, can you please introduce yourselves and tell us your parenting age? And by that we mean the age of your eldest child. So I'm a 20-year-old parent.
Yeah, because that's about all you were going to get.
All right, let's start at the end over there.
My name is Daryl Powell, and I'm a 26-year-old parent.
You look like you didn't know how old your child was. Huh? I mean, come on, bro.
I'm old.
We have to see there's gonna be problems with this one right here. All right, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Terrell Powell. I have I'm a 26-year-old parent. Look, I'm scrambling.
There you go.
D'Amico Parker, 27-year-old parent. Right? Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
We're warming up.
Yeah.
Maisha Parker, 27-year-old parent of our bonus child, and then my oldest with him would be 19.
Okay.
I'm Yolanda Alexander, and I am a 31-year-old parent of a 31-year-old by myself, and then together, 20. So let's say 20, yeah. No,
You don't know?
together.
The oldest?
My oldest is
He said
20.
our oldest, right?
No,
He's
I said
31.
as an individual, your oldest.
My
That was
oldest
your
is
oldest.
31.
All right, you.
Okay.
What about you?
My oldest is 27.
So that makes you a what?
27-year-old parent.
And what's your name?
My name is Dwayne Alexander.
All right, we're warming up.
Yeah.
All right, I was supposed to jump in to like give us context to your story, but I don't want to. We're gonna go all over the map, and we've picked up some fun questions. We're hoping. Do you want to go first, or?
Okay, I'll start. So, what are some things that you all fight about in with regards to your kids? So, for instance, Doomy is very principled, and I'm Grace. So we have to try to, balance it out. So, what are some things that you guys butt heads on? Maisha?
I think for us, especially with just the one in college and then one at home, sometimes we are not on the same wavelength when it comes to DJ's discipline time of studying versus his lax time. So there'll be times that I expect to come home and have DJ dialed in, and his dad is allowing him to be lax, and then he'll come home and I'm allowing DJ to be lax, and he's expecting him to be disciplined. So we kind of he probably plays on it a bit with us, so we're just not on the same page a little bit with that. But yeah.
One second. I want you to answer the question, but I feel like we're doing our viewers a disservice.
Yeah.
Quickly, I said we were going to do something, we didn't. I want to make sure we do it briefly. Give us context to your parenting situation as a couple. One parent, just kind of explain to the audience what your parenting situation. 1 kid, 2 kids, one by a different marriage, one by this. Can you give us context to your child situation?
We have 2 children, Uriah, who I won't give her age, but she'll figure it out. We have Uriah and our son, Michelle.
And we don't have children, no blended children. We're married and had children, and went about the business of figuring out how to raise them.
Okay. Perfect. I'm going to come over here, then we'll end with you so you can finish your answer. Go ahead.
You want
Yes.
me or
Either one.
Well, we have a pot.
Okay.
We have a blended family and adopted children. We have 3 children of our own. Well,
No.
one of my wife, so first was Terrence, 30 years old. My daughter, 31. My daughter Essence, she's 27.
And
our
that
son-
child, those are both
2
separate, not together.
That's
Okay.
correct. 2 separate households, and then our son together, Dwayne Jr.
Okay.
And then a host of other adopted children.
Okay, so 3 children in an adopted village for these 2. All right, right here. Give us your context, please.
My eldest child, our eldest child, my eldest child, she's 27, was with someone previously, and then we have our 19-year-old daughter and our 15-year-old son together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, to the question. What was your question again for him?
What do you guys fight about?
Kind of like she said, just different times of discipline, I think would be the biggest thing. There's times where, I'm chill and laid back, and she's like, this is not chill, laid back time. And then there's times when she's chill, laid back, and I'm like, no, it's not that time. He's got stuff to do, So I think trying to find that balance and syncing up, so to speak.
Okay. What about you all?
I would say that I want to be a bigger part of the decision making that my children, decisions they make, than they want me to be and Yvonne wants me to be. As a parent, we grew up and we were probably helicopter parents. We were pretty protective of our children and, you know, made what we thought were good decisions on their behalf. And as they grew up and wanted to make their own decisions, I wasn't, that's not really the way I would do it. And as they got older, it became a source of, you know, consternation for the family. And then Yvonne would step in and like, no, they can make their own decisions and pay their own consequences.
What do you say to that?
I would say yes. I think what kind of plays off, I'm a clinician by training, and so I probably have more of a less talk and let them express themselves and do those pieces. And Daryl's like, here's the line. And so he might draw the line. I'd be like, well, that's a hard line. I'm kind of thinking. So I would say we do go back and forth around those two pieces. Like, again, I'm more, hey, let's think about it. Let's show affect and emotion. Yes. And he's like, no, you're not going out, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm an accountant. Things are black or white. There's no gray.
Right.
And so, you know, get to the decision. And
Now, are these arguments as civil as this is right here? Because we want to take people behind the wall and curtain of marriage, right? If you're not married, you're looking at it going, it looks harmonious. Is the debate, does it ever get contentious between the two of you all?
well, it gets contentious, meaning we're not talking. So it's not, you know, we're smart enough to know that we don't want to see anything that we can't come back from. You know, so we've able to manage that. You know, and you know, we grew up. I grew up as a part of a single family household, and my mother, she was very disciplinarian, and she had the well-versed English language and cultural English language, and so I adopted that pretty well. And so every once in a while, you know, Dad, oh well, hey, you brought that out. I tell my kids all the time that I'm reformed, you're refined.
Yeah, like
know,
that. Yeah.
That you know, I didn't know that you didn't hit anybody back.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know you de-escalate.
Right.
No, that's not how we do it. And our kids came home and like, no, Dad, you work it out, you de-escalate, talk about it.
Millennials. Millennial parenting.
There you go.
Okay.
Exactly.
We're going to come back to this, but I want to swing the question in a new way to the Alexanders here. How are your parenting styles different, right? And how has that been a blessing and annoying or contentious?
I don't know if it's been that big of a difference because, like, growing up for me, my mom allowed me to do a lot of things that a lot of other families wouldn't let their children do. So, my house was the go-to house. You know, everybody would come to my house, and I think you kind of grew up the same way. His house was the go-to house. So, not that we had free range, but I had free range growing up. So then I really had to make sure it was more with boundaries now that I had children, because I got to do whatever I wanted to do. I'm like, this is a whole different era. You know, so I don't know if it's big difference. Is it a big difference?
Wait, so this is a different era. I'll leave it. Go ahead. I want to dive in.
Well,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, I would say we haven't really had a lot of contentious about our parenting because, like what she said, is her family style was similar to mine. We had huge communities, and our house was one of those open door houses where all the children of the neighborhood would flock to our home, and so we've similar adopted that same. So there really wasn't a lot of anything that caused us to have those contentions because we had those open concepts.
So you guys, you found the one mate that was really, because we ain't, let me be clear, the only thing we fight about, I think, is our daughter, right? Like, so it just,
well, you know, I think, an issue that we were, you know, when they were growing up is the step, you know, that's not my child. And I think for Dwayne at that time, because she wasn't in the household with us every day, when she was there, she would be catered to, you know, and all the other children would be like, you know, wait a minute.
okay, hold on. So we done found the fracture.
Yeah.
I think we found where we
Everybody
need
would
to
want to
lean
go to
in.
McDonald's, but she would want to go to Burger King, just say, so we got to go to Burger King. We're like, what?
Yeah.
You know.
Hey, baby girl.
That was his baby girl.
Time out.
So that was our really kind of, sometimes we would bump head on that when she would come over because everything would be catered to her versus the ones who was there every day.
In a minute, I want to let Jeanette ask her question, but we're going to come back to kind kind of the blended family thing? Because
Yeah.
I want to see
Yeah,
how
it's
that
good.
shows up in marriage. Go ahead. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, that was my question.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
So my question was going to be, what are your challenges that you have with being a step parent?
Yeah, so that was
was
what
yours?
one with mine, yeah.
Can
I
you
mean,
retell them what the situation is one more time? So you're.
It was just that, because she had her own place, well, she was happened to be split in two households. And so when she would come to our house, which would be like only on the weekends or, so when she was there, it was like, everything was focused on her.
So then are you like a second mom? Like how does this, do you find yourself like struggling to find your place with his daughter? Are you like, well, I'm a second mom, or am I going to be more of a friend, or am I going to be more distant? How did you find your pacing and your spacing around his daughter, and how long did it take for you to find that comfort?
I think for us, it didn't really, she was a good girl. So, I think I just went, for me, relationship without, rules equals rebellion. So for me, I always wanted to build that relationship up first. Because I don't want to just come in being a mom, So for me, I built the relationship up first. Whether it was friendship, make sure that she was able to come and talk to me about it. And to this very day, we're tighter than ever, So I thank God, for the relationship that we have and that we started. Since she was a little girl, just allowing her to talk and be free to talk about whatever and no judgment, So maybe it was a friend, but then when situations occurred, then I had to, be like, hey, that wasn't cool, and then she would know that, just being able to have that balance between the friend and the parent.
Now,
And that's the same as a father.
Now, have you ever had to like check her son? I don't know if that's the right word.
Yeah.
Discipline.
Yeah.
What does that look
Well,
like?
that's what I was
How
going
was
to.
it received?
So that was just, those were our contentions. When you happen to blend a family together, you as a father, you want to make sure all the kids are taken care of, even when your own is in a different home. And when they come over, you want the atmosphere to be as best as possible when you got 4, 5, 6 different other ones that you have to. So it's a hard balance, especially when your biological child isn't with you on a day-to-day basis, doesn't get to experience everything on that day-to-day. So you want to give them everything. You want to make sure. And so I probably went overboard on those things.
Wait, what does that mean? You went overboard. How so?
Well, there was times like what she mentioned was that I wanted to make sure it was super sweet for her, and the other kids, they got me on a day-to-day basis, and so I kind of shook things up when she came over. So I did kind of
Which
play
made
that.
the kids kind of sometimes
Kinda
rebel
feel
against
real,
her,
Yeah. So it caused a different
So
shift
your
in the house.
action caused a fracture within the home. What about, we want to go to a different kind of blended situation. How does this show up for you guys?
It's crazy because our situation wasn't like that. I think the hardest part for me being a step parent was to like know when to step in and when not to, because I would say in my situation, D'Amico and her mother had a really solid co-parenting, not perfect, but co-parenting situation. And I really just felt truly as like I'm the bonus parent when you need me. But I'm so blessed. Simone has just been the best, bonus child I could ever have. Like, she's never challenged me. She just kind of, anytime she was with us, which would be the weekends, she just went with the flow of how I run my household. And so I'm like trying to think of a moment, and it wasn't that. And maybe it's because I don't have like a child that from a previous relationship that, he had to accept. I always did kind of do a little bit of jabs at like, I think it's harder for a man to accept than the woman. But I'd be blessed in that way. And I don't feel like there's ever been a moment where he's like, well, why are you parenting her that way or challenging me? I think we just let each other parent the way that we parent. So just the hardest thing is like me not overstepping though, and knowing that her mother has, done a great job rearing her, and he's done a great job rearing her. And
D'Amico, did you ever feel any challenge blending the family? Was there any pressure or challenge for you?
No, it was just, I guess I just wanted her to accept my daughter, if that, in some kind of way, you know what I mean? I haven't been in that situation, but I can only imagine it may be kind of, you know, fragile, you know, for lack of better words, for someone to come in and be that, sometimes that weekend parent, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I just wanted my daughter to make sure and understand that this is my wife, and when you are over here, you're going to respect her as such, or as a role model, you know what I mean, of some sort. And she was cool, you know. She's been a great kid. I couldn't be any more happier, you know.
Now there is something that God just brought to my mind.
Wait a minute.
Because there was, oh no, because we got to be real, like, yeah, I'm like, wait a minute,
You're at a timeout. All right, Chris, you're at a timeout. Let's go.
No, but what I realized is what I shared about is the dynamic between me and Simone and her fitting. But there are dynamics when I'm like, where do I fit in? And there were pivotal times, a couple of times, where I'm like in tears because I felt like I was left out. Mm-hmm. And this is as she got older, when it came to college. Him and her mother took her to college. I didn't do that road trip. And this is not about, it's just what occurred, like when you're taking her, what is that, like, let me into what that experience was, because you gotta see, we got together when she was 3.
Wow.
So I'm like, I've been on this journey with you guys, and I had to stay back, you know, to take care of our kids. But it was when he got back, I felt like, okay, well, you know, how'd it go? And it was not good the next morning. And he sensed how not good it was, and we had to really talk that out, because I felt like, well, that's a moment that you need to let me in, even though I couldn't physically go. Like, and sometimes I felt, so this is, now it's coming, sometimes I felt like he was operating as a single parent when it came to her. And I'm like, you're not an effing single parent. Like, we're in this together, whether I'm her biological mom or not, and you gotta stop operating like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you act like that with our kids, and I'd be like, that's that mentality you're bringing in from your previous relationship. But we'll, yeah.
I got so
Warming up in here.
Anybody want some water?
I think I'll have a little thing to sip here, right?
Need some sea moss. Need some sea moss.
All right. Yeah. Let me. I'm gonna open the floor. I could go down this lane so far because I'd love to unpack your side of this, but we're gonna keep going. I remember watching The Cosby Show as a kid. Loved The Cosby Show. Okay. And I remember watching it, and you know how when you watch a movie, sometimes something happens in a movie or a show that you don't anticipate. And in watching it, all of a sudden, his children started making decisions that were blowing me away. All of a sudden, Denise drops out of school. Sandra's marrying, somebody's marrying an old dude. And I'm just, as a kid, I'm, what are you doing?
Right.
This isn't,
Perfect.
it didn't fit what I was, you know what I mean? And I think as parents, sometimes we map out something for our children, and man, they just do not follow the play. You're up and out, you down the middle, right? You know what I mean? And it doesn't happen like that. When did you realize you didn't have control? And maybe if you could share with us a time where maybe your child or something went off script, went out of play, and you're like, it's against the plan. But when did you all realize you didn't have control over their decisions, and how did you deal with that?
He might want to take that first.
Come on. Oh, listen, I feel like you like me. Boy,
He might want to take that one first.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you, the most pivotal when my son was 18 years old, my son was accepted to Yale, Cornell, Columbia University.
Wow.
And I attended Harvard University, and his mother attended Columbia. So we're an education family driven, and they were raised that way, and they, you know, produced. And my son chose to attend a walk-on to play football for University of Washington instead of to attend Yale, Cornell, or Columbia. And he was 18, and when it happened, I literally was in a fetal position in my bed because his mom, we weren't talking because I was in denial. If I don't say it, he just, maybe it's going to, turn my way. But I just knew it wasn't that way in the house. So, and this is, he's 17 at this point. I'm like, he can't make this decision by himself. Trust me. And I had guided him all the way to that point. I mean, football, education, coding classes, math classes, English classes, travel the world, him playing football. And he had an opportunity, and he chose, well, he couldn't even tell me. He told his mom, and she just came in the room one morning at 6 o'clock and said, he's not going. And I just laid in the bed.
I see you, Yvonne. I see it.
And I just said, wow.
So I think I had a better understanding, sort of a earlier epiphany around sort of managing and what decisions they would be making. And so for me, even as he talks about that situation, I'm behind the scenes navigating. I'm like, I already know what he doesn't want to necessarily do that because he's not excited about it. He's not talking about it. But they had traveled to go check out some schools and do some football stuff. But I knew, again, because of just the way we have different ways in which the kids communicate with us. And so my mindset was like, it's his decision. And I think Daryl's mindset was like, there's no way he could have the thinking to make that decision.
Like so, Joe Jackson over here.
Yeah. So I think for me,
it still bothers me.
It does.
It still bothers me.
Yeah. But for me, it doesn't. I think I'm a believer in God, and he is too. But I believe that God paved the way, and so at the end, God made the decision around where he would go. Michelle's name means God is. Names mean God, who belongs to God, right? And so I believe he made the decision, and that God was with him in that decision. And so even when I look at him at where he is in the university now, you could see the Lord has given him great friendships. He's shown him favor. He's blessed him. And I'm not wrapped up in Ivy League. I'm not wrapped up in that concept because I'll just say it very much can be tied to the concept of white supremacy and then what is elitism and what is like, okay and not okay. So for me, I just had a different play around that decision making. But it was a difficult decision overall, but I just believed that the word says all things work together for good for those who trust and love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And I believe Michelle was called according to his purpose, and it was going to work out on his behalf, even when they bump their head. Because they'll do things with Powell. They'll tell Powell things that they're not going to tell me, and vice versa. So I just think I had just a little earlier understanding around this is going to be your decision because I believe God has your destination in front of you.
Quickly, if you guys could do that, because we want to get one more question in, but can you guys speak really to the same thing? Is there a point where one of your children took a left when you wanted them to go right, and you realize you don't have control, and you got to accept? And what age did that start at?
Not really. I mean, I think when she graduated high school, and especially you go to school out of state, you get this freedom that's unheard of, and then you may get that call of, hey, yo, you may not like this or whatever the case is. You're just like, wait a minute, that wasn't like he said. You're supposed to do 5 and out, come back 2, catch the ball, boom.
We're good.
You did a fly. What do you mean? We're not that, you know what I'm saying? So it was, I think when she turned 18 or when she went to college, she started making some decisions and choices that we weren't in agreement with, and it was tough.
Yeah, I think even like just high level, the first few months of like staying out really, really late, and I'm like, you are in Chicago. Like, don't go south, don't go west.
Don't go nowhere.
Like, or just being in an Uber really late. Like, I'm like,
right.
you don't even do that here at home. So that was kind of a point of contention, and we're just like, she's free. She's gonna do what she wants to do, and she just gotta be like, God, just please watch over her, like, because it's not you I don't trust. It's these people out
Right.
here in this city that we
Right.
don't know.
Exactly.
So that was like a pivotal, like, it's not.
And then
in
it's
our
just,
hands anymore.
yeah, because it's not like they're attending Central or Wazoo, Eastern, UW, Oregon, or anything like that, where you can just smash down I-5 right quick,
Right.
or even call somebody and be like,
Yeah.
yo, man, slide over right quick. You know, you gotta, it's.
So anybody ever make like a relationship choice then that you was like, why are you dating? Come on, you as a parent, you know, you can see so much that they can't see. Anybody ever make a relationship choice where you're like, in your head, this ain't going nowhere, but you ain't in control? Yeah, I felt like I saw it there.
Something over here.
You may not have it. She got it. Give it to
She
us.
got something. I can hear it. Come
Give
on.
it to us.
No, I just think, I mean, my son, him and his, you know, his baby's mother, you know what I'm saying? I mean, even before, they were just oil and water, just didn't mix, you know, and I seen it, you know, and I'm just like, what can I do? You know, and the more you tell them not to do something, of course they're gonna do it. So I just didn't say anything, you know, and now we have a 12-year-old granddaughter. You know, and I'm just like, you know, this is not what I wanted for his life. I don't want to be a grandma. Do I look like a grandma? But, you know, I just think that for you know, them, it's not, we just have to sit back and allow them to make their own choices. It was just out of our control, because the more you fight up against it, then the more they're going to drive to it. So.
Okay.
Whatever she's asking, this will be the last one, and you got to.
I wasn't asking.
Oh, you're not
that
doing-
was it.
That was it. All
That was
right.
it.
Well, I'm gonna do this quickly. You get a quick answer. To whoop or not to whoop? Spankings or no spankings? Yay or nay? We starting at the end. Couple. Yay or nay?
Spankings.
What you doing, Yvonne?
Well, they're grown now, but they would get, I would say swats, and I would say how many you could get. So you could only get so many, right? No, that's enough. So yeah, they got swats, but mainly conversation.
And we obviously talking about little kids, but whatever.
The crime will dictate the punishment. How about that?
Yeah.
He's no spankings, I'm spanking.
There it is.
I've never had to really spank them. That was more
I
of
would
him.
say, whoop that butt, and I'll talk to you afterwards.
Right.
You?
No spanking.
She's not a spanking. Hey, I'm kind of with you. Punishment fits the crime. So,
Right.
and spankings are a part of our tool belt. Over here. Over
Yeah.
here. Yes,
Yeah.
they were a part of
Most
the tool belt,
definitely.
so. Well, that is the end of the Millennial Parenting Couples Panel. We want to thank everybody for tuning into this. We have so much more coming up. Do not leave or go anywhere. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we got a singles panel that you're not going to want to miss. Also, we got Mashonda. You may know her from co-parenting with Swizz Beatz and Alicia Keys. We got an interview with her. You're not going to want to miss that, and so many other things. Stick with us. Keep it locked. Through the Eyes of Art, 9th annual event.
Love you once again. We're misunderstood with Gypsy Temple. Thank you
I need
so
y'all
much.
to clap with me one time. You ready?
Let's clap. Hands up.
Hey, take my mama to church, get my fam out the hood. Youngest guy got my back, we all good. Take my mama to church, get my fam out the hood. Youngest guy got my back, we all good. Hey, we all good. We all good. We all good. We all good. Look at the drip, look at the wrist. Pray for the foreign or white, we call it a miracle whip. Hey, let's take it to church on my mama, we pray for better days. Bring out the Henny on us to celebrate. You be the bomb, baby, let me detonate. Blessings on blessings come when we congregate. Hot potato, dropping low. Someone fit me for a halo. On that coming promise, I've been occupied, working, serving. Every day, Jesus peeps on my neck. Couple things I must address. These Jordans I've been through the valley. I walk through the shadow. You don't know nada. Wait till I can get my mama proper comments with the wicked business. Just the whip they had and now we switched around it for the video. Yeah. Back in the booth, back in the pew, screaming, holla, no. Long as God got my back, promise we can never ever lose. take a minute to introduce my band members. On the ones and twos, we got DJ Teddy.
Let me hear.
On the keys, we got Josiah. On the bass, we got Hermoon. On the drums, we got Kai. On the hooks, we got Aaron J. And last but not least, we got Cameron on the guitar. Sound off, thank you. You've been a wonderful crowd. Thank y'all for having us again. Have a nice night. Let's get it.
Love y'all. Make some noise.
We all good. We all good. We all good. We all good. We all good.
Welcome back to the 9th annual Through the Eyes of Art, brought to you by U.S. Bank, The Chosen Few, the MoPOP.
The Black Marriage Movement. We got the
goes
whole
on.
hood in here. We just came out of a dope panel about parenting. You like it?
It was good.
Yeah. Being married, we're a married couple. But black families come in all shapes and sizes. And so, yes, we're married, but for a while, we were single parents for 10 years, if I am correct. Yes, and so we're going to get into that in a minute. But I also want to make sure people know, do not leave us, because after this panel, we got Mashonda, who's going to be live on air with us, talking about blended families, right? Talking about parenting with Swizz Beatz, also with Alicia Keys. So we're going to dive into all of that. Don't go anywhere. But for now, it's time for us to get into what we're calling a single parenting panel.
So welcome to the Single Parents panel. We are going to start off by giving the audience some context. So please introduce yourself and give us your parenting age, which is the age of your eldest child, and how many children you have.
My name is Leah Reed, formerly Edwards. I have 4 children. They range from age 25 to 16.
And your parenting age is?
My parenting age is 25.
Holla, there we go.
My name is Danelle Damon, and I have 2 boys, 17 and 13. My parenting age is 17.
My name is Latrice Wyatt, formerly Latrice Donahue, and I have 4 sons, 15, 14, 5, and 1.5. My parenting age is 15.
Man, can we clap it up for her? Because she just got married.
Yeah.
Hey! All right.
Thank you. My name is Alvin Snow. I have 1 son. My parenting age is 8.
My name is Talia Carter. I have 1 son who's 11. So my age is 11. Here we go. At least the one that's mine. I've helped others. There we go.
We like to do that, the parenting age things, because you are the age of that. That's how long you've been doing this. That's all you have, right? If they're 9, that's it. You got 9 years at this, right? Everything else is just a whole bunch of conversation and talk. So do you want to jump first? Or
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my first question is going to be, what's your family structure? So you're single parents, but do you have joint custody? Do you have a parenting plan? Like, how does it, are you co-parenting? Like, how does it working for you?
I am a single mother of 4 children. The father of my 4 children was my college sweetheart. I had my first daughter when I was in law school. We were not married. And then I had another daughter when I was in my first year of practice. We still were not married. When I got pregnant with my 3rd daughter, we decided to get married. And then we had a son after that. Right when I found out that I was pregnant with my son, we found out that Michael had cancer, and Michael died 8 years ago as of January 31st. Wow. So I'm a single parent by death.
Okay. Thanks for sharing.
I have 2 sons, and I have a co-parenting plan now. Both of my children by the same mother. I was married to her, and we stayed together for the children. As far as our co-parenting, we never went to the single parenting thing. Nothing stopped that. And so, you know, we still co-parent together to this day. So I don't consider myself necessarily a single parent. I just consider myself a present father with a present mother.
I like that.
I like that.
I like that. That's dope.
I like that. I have a similar situation. My two oldest, we co-parent, and my 5-year-old with my ex-husband. We're figuring it out, and
It's okay.
feels much like a single parent right now. And my 1.5-year-old, I am married to his father. So that is just what it is in the household.
Okay.
I certainly co-parent. Unfortunately, was never with my son's mother. We just make it work best we can.
Yeah.
I am a single mother. It has been me and Jesus with my baby
Okay.
since day one. Well, actually beforehand, so yeah.
Okay.
We worked it out with the Lord.
All right, so first question. Let's get it popping now. All right. We got all the context out the way. Y'all know who they are now, okay? You know who they are. You know their situations. Let's talk. What's the most challenging thing about being a single parent, right? What is the most challenging thing for you about that? Anyone can jump in.
I will jump in first. I will say the most challenging. I was just talking to Danielle about this because our kids play in similar league basketball. And I would say that the most challenging thing right now has been the things that I have to get done by myself. So proms, graduations, any kind of formal dances. And now that my son is older, he attends an all-boys private school here in Seattle. And basketball tryouts, football tryouts, it's very tough to see a dad walk in all the time, you know, cheering for his son, or a dad walking off all the time with his son. And I know that my son is never going to see his dad walk into the gym. And I think that every game I go to, it almost makes me it almost makes me cry. I want Michael to see how good our children are doing. I wanted him there when our daughter accepted her admission to USC. I wanted him there when she got a pre-med scholarship. I wanted him there. It's just tough. And I have nobody, like, I want to turn to him and say, Mike, our kids did it. We didn't want to be together anymore, but we both loved our children. And I think that's the toughest part right now, especially with my son. It's just, there's nothing like a dad to a son. And, you know, the other day, one of his teammates, his dad came in from out of town, and he played so well, and everybody was like, you gotta come back, you gotta come back. And Michael just kind of looked down, and one of the dads told me, you know, Michael told me that his dad lives in California, and that's where his dad is buried. And so I was like, I think he just tells people that because he does not want them to know that he doesn't want to talk about his father being gone.
Right. Yes.
I'm compelled to say what I'm about to say. I don't know your story. I played basketball myself. Not once did I ever have my dad show up to a single game. Now, I didn't lose him to death, so that's a whole different kind of trauma that I respect. But not once did I ever see him walk in the gym. And I went on to become an All-American. I played professionally for 10 years. I still work in the industry. So your son is going to be fine because he has you. And I had an incredibly strong mother, all right? So he has you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
Come on now.
Right?
Do we have tissue?
Man, I think so. That was the Millennial Parenting single panel. No, I'm gonna try the best I can. I want to hear from some other voices as well. Real quick, right there, Talia.
Sweet baby Jesus. I think, well, for me, it's just I created a village because I went into this knowing it was going to be just me. So I created a village of men that I love that I had in my life growing up, my friends that I considered family that I felt were admirable, and somebody that my son could look up to, who embraced him, who takes into the thing. So my son hasn't missed, I guess you would say, on not having a father in that capacity, because my dad's there, my uncle's there, his godfather's there, his you know what I'm saying, my friends that are family. So everybody has embraced him, and wherever there was a need, I was able to insert, and he was able to go to. So when and if ever he has questions, he and I have a really good relationship that I made open in the capacity of, you can come tell me or ask me about anything, because there's nothing that you can do that will ever have me not love you. There's nothing you can do that will ever make me stop and say, I don't love you anymore, I can't do that. I said, so it's completely unconditional. I didn't realize the strength that I had, the strength that I had till I went through the situation and actually had him. But like I said, when he got here, I said, it's me and you, kid, we about to rock this, and it is what it is. And I'm grateful for my mom, I'm grateful for my dad, for my village that I created, because I got strong men in the village, so he sees that. And so when it comes to, you know, certain questions, yeah, you ask, and I age appropriately fill in.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a good situation, but age appropriately fill in. But when and if I can, you know what I'm saying, he wants to play basketball. Okay, well, listen, I know about 4, 5, 6 people. Here we go.
Right.
Listen, hey, he want to play. Somebody. How we doing this?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, you know, or he wants to play drums, or he wants to do music. He wants to play trumpet. I'm tipping and tapping on whoever the resources I have created inside this village, so that he knows he can go talk to them too. It's put out there like, hey, Kiani, if you got something you want to talk about, you may not want to talk to your mom, come see me. And so he has that, he feels that, and at the end of the day, he's always gonna come to me. But I wanted him to have a safe space and know that there are other people outside of me and my mom that love him. And so he can feel that and understand that whenever and if ever something comes up.
So for you guys who co-parent, how do you handle when you're dealing with different views and values on certain things? Like, it could be where the kid's gonna go to school, or, you know, like music. Like we had a ton of stuff when we were co-parenting, and so it was just kind of like,
Damn. She said music, man. So she's a little more liberal with her music.
Right.
You know what I mean? She looked the part, but it's E40 and you know
Exactly.
it's going down in the car, right? So she's a little, and I'm just like, yo, man, she's too young to listen. And this is what we're going through when we're younger. We're not married at that point for context purposes. We're not married. We're not together, and we're on the phone. And it's beep, beep, beep.
no, it was not.
It's the clean version. It's the clean version.
It was
No, I'm talking
fabulous
about me
and
yelling.
jagged
I'm talking about me
edge.
frustrated. I'm talking about me.
Hey, I'm with it. None of our kids was shooting up places when we was young, and we was listening to NWA. So I'm with all of that.
But in context, what do you do when there are differing views on the other side? Do any of you guys have that situation?
Certainly.
Yes.
So let's start here, and then we're gonna move down. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, when I first started the journey with my kid's mom, and I don't like saying that, I have to say her name. You know what I'm saying? That's distant to me.
Hold on. Before you finish that, anybody ever use the baby's mama, baby's daddy term? Tell the truth.
We do when it's,
I
we
don't.
do jokingly.
Jokingly.
Yeah, I'd be like, baby daddy, what do you
Even
want? Like,
in text, my son's mom and I call each other. She calls me FOS. I call her MOS. Mother of son, father of son, right? So it's
But
not
what
quite
about third person?
baby mama.
Yeah.
It's a little
Oh, you mean to
cleaner
somebody
than that.
else?
Yeah.
no.
No, I call him that as we were married,
No.
so I called him that jokingly, like, oh, that's my baby dad. He fine, you know.
What about you?
I ain't never used the term into nothing, because it's me.
Okay. I got it. I love it though. That's dope, because when we were together, I made a choice at the time. It was really popping. I was like, yeah, I'm not calling her that.
Yeah, I never
The
did.
connotation. But sorry, please
No, but,
proceed.
you know, we worked together cohesively, in and out.
Call me Dollar.
And then I relocated to Washington, D.C. And I was living there and for about 6 years. I just recently moved back about 3 months ago. But in that time frame, I did everything I could do to be present. FaceTime, thank God for technology. And I would come back monthly. But it came to a point where I would try and navigate instructions over the phone. And we had to have a real conversation like, listen, you ain't here. And so when situations come down, you know, this is how I run my house.
This is her speaking.
Yes.
Got it.
Respectfully.
Yeah.
And the viewpoints became different because at the end of the day, I understand him as a young man. And so I would get spiteful because, you know, okay. But then when you call me, oh no, it's your house.
Yeah.
But see, that wasn't working either because ultimately the goal is to raise him together. So we had to put our viewpoints aside and figure out what's best for the child. But there were heated situations. You know, I like my child to get up at a certain time, but she had to take on the responsibility of picking her battles because it's just her. But her battles wouldn't be my battles because then she would say, you know, son needs a male voice and you're not here. And then they caught on to that. You know, I'm just like, you're not here. So to be honest with you, you know, I would come in town and my oldest, and this hurt me. These are all some of the reasons that I just dropped my whole career and just said I'm coming back. But I would come in on Mondays and I would leave every Sunday. My oldest wouldn't even really talk to me until Wednesday. He'd be very short with me because in his mind, it doesn't matter how close I get with you, you're leaving on. So I would have to be patient with it, but because we had a tight bond, he would get warmed up to it by Wednesday and forget that I'm leaving on Sunday. So then when Sunday comes, he's frustrated because he should have kept the same guidelines. So it was just this cycle.
Cycle of pain.
So then finally my youngest put it so elementary for me and I was like, yeah, it's time to change. He said, Dad, when you come in town, don't really tell us what to do. Just kind of take us places so we can have fun. So it was his way of saying, you're not here to follow up with the discipline that you're trying to give us. So let's just have fun and enjoy because you're leaving. So it was almost like saying, don't raise me. Just have fun with me. And those kind of seeds. So to your point, as far as viewpoints, I understand her as a job. She has to work all day. Then we were in COVID. So then they don't have no school. And as a parent, you love them 6 hours a day. So now they're home all day. So now everything is heightened. So then she was like, I'm just tired. You know, I don't know he doesn't want to sit at the laptop all day long in school. I'm working. I'm in the other room. It's like, okay, it's time for me to get back. So our viewpoints became back here now because we're both here to kind of raise them together. So those are the challenging points because our viewpoints of things, you know, that's what makes it better. Wonderful. You have two different, you know, perspectives to help one child. But yeah, that distance
was tough. What about you?
Interesting. So to follow up, that's the most challenging for me right now with my 5-year-old. His father moved to Georgia, and we divorced. And the struggle now is my now husband is what he has mostly. And that's because his father is in Georgia, and our viewpoints just don't align because he feels like, I tried to explain to him, you leaving when your son, he was 1 when he originally left. And he feels that his decision to move didn't affect the way he parents. So this is how he's processing. This doesn't stop my ability to be a father. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you're not here. And you knew life was here. We live here. This is home. So you're here, and now you think you know. So really, we do everything for my 5-year-old. Like, we have no assistance whatsoever with anything. So it's really challenging in that sense. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, I don't need that. I just need you to be present. And so we're trying to figure it out now. I have agreed to let my son go to Georgia for a long period of time. However, he's still working some stuff out, you know, so he can set it up so he can have that with him. And so it could be any day at this point, but I'm really hopeful because although he has very much of a father in my husband, I want him to have that relationship with his father because he's a great father. I've watched him over the years, and I really want him to have that, and it's going to be challenging because I know he's not going to move back, right? So how am I going to navigate this space? Maybe that's a conversation we need to have off the line. Like, how are we going to do this? Because I'm a mama bear for real. I'm not, he ain't going nowhere. Yeah. So for me, I send him every now and then. He go for maybe a couple of months, he come home, and then it's like you have to retrain all over again. I believe in super stability because I don't believe in moving kids around. And so he was at Yolanda's Montessori school, so I withdrew him because he was supposed to go to Georgia in early February. And so, you know, I removed him from that stability. And so it's been very challenging for me because I feel like he is suffering because of the decision we made to divorce and his father's decision to move. And so now
well, see, interestingly enough, I was going to say with that is a lot of what our children go through, especially in the single parenting life, sometimes it's decisions that we make. Not every time, right? But sometimes it's a decision we made in the past, right, that has us in this situation here. I want to hear from you now. Al, just around your exact same question. Yeah. What's the most challenging part of like parenting with different views? Because you three both kind of say, yeah.
Before you hear from him, I just want to say that I sent my son to his dad for 7 months. And everybody, for some reason, thought I was a crackhead. I don't know why they thought I was a crackhead, but they were just like, why would you send your only son away? And I was like, because he needs to be with his dad. So I just want to tell you, I admire you for that. Because there's a lot of women that would not do it.
Honey, I don't want to.
I know.
I don't want to. Like, hear me clear.
It's when God told me it's time for him to go be with Michael, I called his dad, and his dad said, you ain't going to give him to me. I
Why
said, yes,
don't you want to? Quick answer.
Okay, the quick answer, I can't control what happens to him when he's away.
There we go.
Let's be 100.
There we go, yeah.
What is my son walking into?
Yeah.
I have things that give me pause. I have my concerns.
We're going to come back to that. Talk to me now. Hardest part about parenting in a situation where you know, it's challenging, different views.
I mean, they touched on a lot of it. I'll say for me more specifically, my son at 8 years old, I'm going to just try to say this. She allows certain things that I look at and say, like he's 8 and he has TikTok and Instagram. Like, what are we talking about here?
Fighting over social media.
Yeah, and so that's a real challenge for me. So here's, because I think everything needs balance, right? Everything. And so the way that I approach it is, my son wants to be a YouTuber, right? So instead of me taking social media all away from him, saying, no, you're not doing it, I have conversations about how to do things responsibly, right? I talked to him, one of the examples I gave him was, I told him, son, you know what the McDonald's, you know the McDonald's has an arch, right? And every time you see that arch, you think of their burgers and their fries and they're good, right? You like that. You want a Happy Meal, right?
Yeah.
They've done a masterful job marketing to you, right? What if you went to McDonald's? I literally had this conversation with my 8-year-old. I'm serious. What if you went to McDonald's one time and the food was gross and it made you throw up? How would you feel every time you saw that arch, right? He said, I wouldn't go back. I wouldn't want to go in there. Right. Okay, so when you put something out on your social media, right, that doesn't put you in a good light, people aren't going to want to come back, right? So you have to be really mindful of the messages you send, right? So I literally had this conversation with my 8-year-old.
That with 30-year-olds.
So I guess my point is, although I don't agree with her allowing that, instead of me being big bad Papa Dad, right? I just kind of try to find a way to help navigate through that, right?
We're running on time here. Tight. They've already flashed me, so I'm trying to. I'll do something real quick, okay? Real quick. To whoop or not to whoop? And give me a quick answer of why.
This ain't the generation for that. I don't want my son. I grew up getting whoopings, and it made me fear my father. And that's the because I said so generation. This is the why generation. So whooping, in my opinion, erases the lesson that you can teach. Now, if I'm gonna beat my kid, it's gonna be character. You stole, I'm at you. You spill some Kool-Aid on the carpet, you don't get whoopings for that. Just clean it up and keep it moving. Give a lesson in that. You know what I'm saying? If you rob, you steal. You steal, you cheat. Like, those are character situations. I'll get you for that. But the whooping.
All right. Hold on. I want to hear somebody else real quick. What do you got? Talk to us. To whoop or not to whoop? Keep it under. To whoop or not to whoop?
Spare the Ross Water shot. No, I'm kidding. You know, I got 4 kids. I can't say that I've never whooped them. I can say that what I did is what my mother said, and that was put the fear of God in us. So I didn't get many whoopings after the age of like 9 or 7, you know, but I didn't need any after the age of 7 or 9 because by then I already knew not to play with Jessie Evelyn. Like, I knew not to play with her. Even if she was alone, my dad was killed when I was like 11 years old. So, but I knew my mom was not playing with us, and she wasn't playing with my brothers either.
So, you know, your mom said that name, Jessie Evelyn, just says
Listen, that's what like, no ma'am.
And she would bring when she would take in other people's kids and stuff like that, but you couldn't play with Jessie Evelyn. You don't play with her. And so my kids, same thing. They know, like, I'm good, but they know the things I don't play about. I don't play about the grades. I don't play about that room being clean. I don't play about their laundry being done. And I don't play about my house being clean. Now they get everything else.
Talk to me. To whoop or not to whoop? Why? I'll give you a little. Everybody got to get their why in. You got to have a little why. Go ahead.
So, honestly, it depends on the situation. So like he said, it depends on the situation. I will honestly say I didn't even really, with Reggie and Raylan, whooping them was not something that I'd had to do often. I think I jacked Raylan up on the hood of the car one good time. After that, I promised.
Jacked him up, huh?
Yeah, I had to do one of them.
Oh,
what?
okay.
You know.
Hey, single mom. We're not going to judge. Single mom. You know what they go through. Y'all don't know what a single mama go through. Leave her alone.
Past his head, like his
not
head was right
at
here.
her.
She was right here.
Don't
She was like, what did you say?
Well, this happened so many years ago.
Run that back.
But he actually, he said, I think I remember that. So, you know, after that, I hadn't really had any issues with them. My 5-year-old is super smart, so he tells me I'm being disrespectful, or you know, you're being disrespectful, or like he uses words like that, or you're not listening.
Lord.
So like, so we'll really sit and have a conversation, and with him, it's almost like I give him my look works with him, so I'll just turn to him and he'll kind of straighten up. I'm sorry, Mom. You know, I didn't mean that. Like, so he knows that already. Yeah. Right? Now, this 1.5-year-old, he's a little interesting. So I don't know what's going to happen. We'll talk to me later about that.
All right, too.
Short answer, as little as possible. The conversation I had with my son is, if you can explain it to me and make it make sense, I won't whoop you, right? And we have conversations about whatever's going on. Yeah. But beyond that, I'm not into yelling either. So I'm not the dude who's gonna raise his voice at you. Like, can I tell this short story?
Please.
So his mom one day, right? We understand moms deal with a lot, right? So she's just exhausted from her day. They're coming home from her work day and his school day. She picks him up from the after-school care program that he's in, and they get home, they get out the car, he drops his iPad on the ground, shatters, right? This is probably his 7th one that he's broken, right?
Yeah, because they break phones.
That's a lot.
And her response, usually it would be, she would go off, right? But in this, because she was exhausted, she said, Chris, that's why we keep the case on. His name is Christian. And he said, thanks, Mom. And she's like, for what? She told me this story. She's like, for what? And he said, because you didn't yell at me. My dad doesn't yell at me. And then that, the fact that she told me
said that it was powerful enough, right? He's getting the message, right? And he appreciates and respects the conversation, right? So that's enough for me until he does something like he said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Talk to you. Last one. Quick answer. Whooping, not whooping, why? It's okay. Whatever it is, it is. Hey, listen, let me be clear. We're not shaming anyone here. We're not shaming. We all trying to get it right.
When necessary, and like he said, it's more so on the character building kind of scenario. So when you done went all the way over to Lucifer, I got to bring you, you know what I'm saying? But also, I follow up with a conversation. It's not a this is it and bam and keep it pushing. Your feelings come, as sometimes, like I said, you get super mad, put your cape on, have at it, whatever the case. But we come back. Now listen, do you understand why this happened? Why did we have to come to this spot? So like you said, I'm not raising no liar, no thief, no cheat, no nothing. So if you take anything, and for at this particular moment, he took something out of my room that you had to go in and find. So you have the selfness to, the audacity to come into my space, my room, and I was like, why did you think that? Well, I kind of wanted it back. I understand that, but that's a conversation. Mom, I know I gave you the $20 to pay you back, but can I have it back because I want to do this? And we could have figured that out. You don't go in and take anything from anybody, period. But the fact that your audacity came towards me, the one that does all of this, well, we got to talk a little bit more, honey. Yes, and some extraness right behind that dance. So I think, like I said, few and far in between. I feel like it will be, yes, ding ding. Not bad. I feel conversations work more as long as you're direct. And then if you have a direct, because he's like, I don't appreciate that. And that's how I talk to him. I don't appreciate you doing that. And I don't see you doing that with somebody else. And then with my job, as he knows, he can't never come to my job. So that was it.
I think taking stuff is more effective at this point now, though.
No.
If I take my son's phone,
Man,
when I told my son put that phone on my dresser and don't ask for it back, he cried for like 3 days.
Okay, I'm gonna get your view. To whoop or not to whoop? No. We've done this. She said no whoop. No.
I'm not. I got whipped one time with my sisters when I was little because my oldest sister stole the car, and we were all three in it.
You just airing laundry.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure.
She say still bubble gum or a shirt. She said the car. I'm like,
well, she's 8 years older than me, so I didn't know why I got in trouble. I'm the baby. I just was riding, but
Dirty.
it just wasn't something. It wasn't something that I did, and then I also feel like. I feel like I have a lot of suppressed anger. So I felt like if I got to that point, then something might happen. Like, and so I yell though. Not a lot at her unless she gets me there. Like if she gets me there where I start yelling and cussing, then we got a big problem. But other than that, like, that's my baby. I still call her that. That's my baby. And she's 20 years old and she will always be my baby. And he has a big problem with that.
Okay.
He said,
I just believe in everything as a part of it, right? So to me, it's in context, I think everything matters. I think taking things, we did a lot of that in our parenting. Take the cell phone, right? That's valuable. There's a time and a place for everything under the sun. And there was a point where she needed a whooping and she got a whooping. And all of the other things like conversations, right? And put it all together. Don't whoop when you're angry. All those different things. Like there was a lot of intent that went into it. I think she got a few whippings in her entire life or something. Mostly character building stuff, deep things, have conversations. But the plethora is on the table, and I don't know if we got it right. I think we're in the middle. It's an age-old debate right now in the millennial generation, and there's half older people going, you better whoop them kids, and then there's younger people going, you talk to them and get there. I think the truth is somewhere in between. Because if you look at the world and you go, well, how's this working for us? Right. How are we turning out? Right? And if we're not turning out, maybe we need to whoop more. Maybe we do not whoop. I don't know, right? Maybe we need to figure out how we do it. I don't have the answer, but I do want to thank you guys for joining us for this panel, for the single parenting panel. It has been great to have you open to share your stories. I don't know if, like, we're married now, but we did 10 years as a single couple. I don't think I would have shared when I was single.
No, I don't think I would have been. I wouldn't have. No. Yeah.
The answer is clear, right?
Yeah.
Don't worry, we're gonna keep things moving. First, I wanna shout out all of our partners who make this thing happen. Some of the names you guys don't know, man. Shout out to the Seattle Emerald, one of the dopest magazines, the South Seattle Emerald, excuse me, one of the dopest magazines in the town. Also, One Vibe Africa, and then Africa Town Seattle. And we can't do it without one big shout out to the Black Marriage Movement. That has been a home for millennial parenting for a while now.
Yes.
So thank you to all of you all.
Also, because we have the families here and parents here, we want to let you know that MoPOP has a ton of programs and events and experiences for you and your children. So please visit mopop.org.
Yes, and we're not going anywhere, people. The show is not over. Oh, no. Next up, we are bringing you Mashonda. Without further ado, she is talking to us one-on-one about her conversation. Well, she is two-on-one, but whatever, man. She's talking to us about her family, co-parenting with Swizz Beatz, Alicia Keys, how they've taken a challenging situation and turned it into a blended family. And after that last panel, I think that's something we all would love to learn something about.
Absolutely.
So we're taking a quick break. Be right back. This is the 9th annual Through the Eyes of Art, brought to you by U.S. Bank. Peace and love. Let's go.
My name is Damon Brown. I go by Creative Lou, and I created the illustration for Through the Eyes of Art, Millennial Parenting. As a Black father, you know, having kids, I'm a millennial parent. You know, there's a lot of things that I deal with as a parent that I just wasn't prepared for. Everything from fashion, you know, things that are going on in the world. So I wanted to make sure that I captured that, again, in the art. It's an important topic. I mean, it's things that we deal with within this culture. So I wanted to start with two parents with two millennial kids and kind of just representing this artwork, what it's like to be a parent, a millennial parent.
All right, it is the moment we have all been waiting for. It is the 2022 9th annual Through the Eyes of Art celebration. We've had a great conversation with the couples panel, learning about parenting and marriage, right? Millennial parenting in marriage. We've had a singles panel learning about really the process and the journey of co-parenting and parenting on your own and all these different things. So it's been great, but we got to bring it to a climax. And so I want to welcome to the stage our featured honored guest for the 9th annual Millennial Parenting Through the Eyes of Art. Welcome, Mashonda. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for that amazing introduction.
You know what? You're super dope. Before we get started, the first thing I want to do is introduce people to your book.
Yes.
You wrote a book, Blend. When did you write this book? How long ago?
I wrote the book probably starting in 2010.
Yeah.
I completed it in 2017 and it released in 2018.
Wow. For people who don't know, her book is called Blend, and it is really about the process of, I would say, healing and blending a family together. She's co-parenting with Swizz Beatz, Alicia Keys. It's a phenomenal book. It's written, in my opinion, from reading it, very personable. What I liked about it is it was like, I felt like I was like talking to you or something, or just listening to a sister tell her story. And then that made it more engaging. My wife would have way more to say because she, just quickly, a little brief bit about our story. We were together. We had a child. We were apart for 10 years. And then we got back together when our daughter was 10. So we kind of walked some of this journey in a way. So it, you know, we could identify with it a whole lot. So
that's beautiful.
Where are you at right now?
So I live in San Diego. I'm here in California. I had no idea you were in LA.
Oh, Diego, that is so dope. Richard Walker's, that's the best breakfast place in the world. I don't know.
I know, yeah.
Oh my God, I love that place. Anyways, let's get into it. Get into this interview right away. Can you tell us about your parenting journey? Tell us kind of how it started, and how it's going and how you got to where you are now.
Absolutely. So the parenting journey started 15 years ago when my son was born. He turned 15 in December. It started out very traditional. We were married, which is what I think everybody always hopes for, is a solid family dynamic. But things change. And I think the biggest thing with parenting and being being a good parent, a conscious parent, is being able to evolve through all circumstances as you parent. And so once I realized that, I was able to wrap my head around everything that had happened and pretty much give myself the ability and enable myself to use the tools, the positive tools, to navigate my new journey as a co-parent.
Yeah. You know what, again, only living my own life, it's so challenging along each road. And sometimes while there are guides in some way, sometimes there's not, because you're headed to like a unique space, right? Like your journey heads you to a unique space. I want to, if you're okay with it, unpack some of what's in your book. And what really hit me, there were lines in there that I want to read. Number one, you said, my ego was running a marathon. That like jumped out on me. Another one, an ego turned all the way up into a defense mode, right? So this ego in defense mode. And then, and for those listening, this was the part of the book where her journey, where her and Swizz had essentially ended their relationship, right? But there was a process of healing to get to actually blending parenting. The other thing was, there was a story in there where you were, there's a story where essentially it felt like your relationship with Swizz had ended and you had started your healing journey or got to a certain point in it and you needed to talk to him. And you walked to the phone, and in the book you say, before I call, my ego showed up, right? And it was just kind of like this battle of, do I call, do I not? And you like rushed to make the phone call, almost to like silence the ego. It was dope. But I wanted to talk to you about the ego, right? What is the ego? We don't hear about that. It's not much with women, right? Like it's, Kanye West, I got a big ego. You know what I mean? As a man, we kind of know we got egos, but with women and their healing journey, what's the ego? How does it show up?
Well, I think the word is definitely misused. We do hear it a lot in rap songs, but it's actually a huge part of being a human being. It's life. Ego for me has always been, it's simply the opposite of spirit. So we have a choice every day, every moment. We can either operate through ego, which is essentially our feeling of self-importance, or we can operate through spirit, which is ultimately love, empathy, seeing the world through a very broad path where we not only see ourselves, but we see and feel other people's needs and their pain and their joy. And so when we go through things that challenge us and challenge our ego, our self-importance, we take on a very heavy negative feeling. And so when I say things like my ego was running a marathon, I was stuck in a place where I felt like it was my side of the story and that was it. I felt like I was the only one that was feeling hurt. I felt like I was the only one that, was in a place where I didn't understand what was going on. And it takes a lot for a person to awaken to the fact that with every situation, everyone in that situation is going through something. And not to say that ego is not a necessary part of our individual lives, because it is. We need it to survive. It's us saying to ourselves, don't cross the street right now because a car is coming, like it's the I factor. So I think in order for us to get out of that frame of mind and be able to regulate ego is to practice empathy, which is something I also write a lot about in the book.
It's funny because I remember my ego really showed up in my relationship big time when, in the old relationship, it showed up a lot. I was young and making some horrible decisions. But when I decided to re-pursue my wife, I remember, oh my God, it was just so hard because the ego just kept like, I don't know, it's just pride and ego in a bad way, right? And so I love how you look at it as a necessity of life, as something that's with us. not necessarily a bad, but something that can get in the way. And
Just have to, yeah, you've got to master your ego. You have to be able to balance it. You have to be able to call it out, regulate it. Like when I was picking up that phone call and I was like, I want to talk and make things right. But then you've got this voice in the back of your mind, like, no, he needs to call you and make it right. That's ego. That's when it shows up. It shows up to interfere with love or evolution. So it's important to identify with it quickly and check it, put it in its place.
I love that. It shows up, okay, to interfere with love. I love that. Is it like, it's a follow-up right in there, but do you think for yourself in your personal journey, if this wasn't a fight to love your son, do you think that you would have dealt with your ego? Or was that the driving factor?
Absolutely not. My son was definitely the driving factor. I mean, of course, when people don't have children, they don't have any ties. So they walk away. And I think that's the beauty of having a child, is because kids force you to really go inward and to really do the self work. Because, when you don't have them, it's easy to close a chapter and keep it moving. And I think the blessing with my son, one of the biggest blessings, is that he came at a time where I was 20, 29, 30 when everything was happening. And I feel like that is the perfect age to really be like, okay, do I want to be who I was yesterday? Or do I want to set out on this journey to become a better person? And my son forced me to be a better person. So I'm thankful for that.
It's funny to hear you say it, because I have this running joke that my daughter's trying to kill me, right? Like, she's trying so hard.
I swear, yeah, I feel the same way sometimes.
And it was funny is it like never stops. It's every age has a different level of ego or a different level of just everything, right, that you have to face. It's like, okay, well, yeah, at 15, they're not doing what they were at 4, but now the worries change, the fears change. And then we went through this journey more recent. Our daughter's 20. So we went through this journey where we learned by 18, you really learn around, for me, 16, that you're not in control as a parent. And when that hits you, it's like, oh, so I'm literally like an advisor, like that, you know what I mean? Like,
you become a guidance counselor.
Yeah.
And I recently learned that. My son started early. He taught me that around 14. So I've been like learning. The new lesson now is learning to detach from all of the ideas that I thought this parenting journey would be. And that's hard.
Yeah.
That's been hard, but it's necessary, because we really have to give them autonomy over their lives in some way. We have to guide it and nurture it, protect it, and, set boundaries.
Yeah.
But we still have to allow them to somewhat be and do what they want to do. Because they're going to do it anyway at that age.
Right. Yeah, right. That's,
come on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, there are a few things I said to my daughter, you're not going to do this. And it was just like, 6 months later, she was doing it, bro. Like, you're not in control.
Yeah.
I want to stay on your healing journey a little bit. Really the journey of you getting yourself to a point where, and this is my view of it, getting yourself to a point where you can co-parent or blend in a healthy way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk a little bit about that journey. There were some words you said here. I'm quoting you from the book. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's part of it. Wait, forget it. I'll just pose the question. What do you do when the expectation that things will last forever meets the reality that things are over? Right. And so that, yeah. Okay.
Well, I think the best thing to do is to take some time for yourself, not involve too many people in the conversation, but definitely get therapy. If you can put yourself in a situation where you can speak to someone that's not going to judge you, that has studied emotions and understands how to come out of those disappointments, it's definitely important to get therapy, meditate. You know, I found a lot of peace in nature. You know, it's really an inward journey at that point, because disappointments can really, it can really shift your entire life. I know a lot of people that have, I know a few people that have literally died from heartbreak. Like, you know, they have all these health issues. You know, a lot of things come into play when you don't get what you want. So once again, it also goes back to regulating that ego and just having a clear understanding that life happens and it keeps going.
Yeah.
So for me, it was really just taking a year. I took a whole year off, and I wrote about that in the book too. Took a year off. I didn't go out. I spent a lot of time with myself, with the people that I consider healers, the people that I trust, and I just did a lot of inward work.
I loved your words. You just said, life goes on, it keeps going, right? And sometimes when you're in the midst of I have this philosophy that we weren't truly made to connect the way we are and then break apart, right? So it feels like death because it is. Death is separation, right? So, and so it's a separation. It's like Velcro ripping. And when that happens, it's like, something is going, I'm not supposed to be feeling this. Well, yeah, you were made to bond, not to Velcro apart, right? I remember in our first relationship when my wife and I split, we went through this process. We had a child, but we're not together, right? And so we had all of this. We were young. We didn't do any of this in the beginning. I mean, any of this. And so I know the other side of it, the toxic side. I know the side of, man, you ain't gonna have no dude around my kid, right? That's me. I'm on the phone with some dude yelling and going off. I remember her being like, you know, I'm dating and she's like, I'm gonna make her life a living hell. And we're doing it all wrong, right? What reads me kind of to the beauty of what you did is brave. You've gone through this process of self-healing. You've had the conversations you need to have with Swizz. You guys get yourself into a decent space, right? And then he moves on with his life as you move on with yours, right? What was the most difficult part of the process for you, Swizz, Alicia, as you embark on the journey of trying to have a healthy co-parenting, balanced relationship? And then did you guys all arrive at that space at the same time? Was it like you were here, he was here, she was there? Take us into that bold journey to this new place.
I think it takes one person to convince the others that it's time and that it's the best thing. I get a lot of messages from parents saying, you know, I really want to do this, but my son's father he's not ready, or my daughter's mother, she hates this person and she's not willing. And it's not for everybody. That's just the bottom line. It's not for everyone until everyone can be on one accord and have the same goal. And that goal is ultimately to create a safe, healthy dynamic for the child. It took us time. It took us a lot of conversations, therapy. We sat with therapists, we sat with family members, and a lot of times we walked out of those meetings really pissed off. And we always made a very conscious decision to come back. So we never left with a feeling like, oh, you know, F this person, we're not doing this ever again. We would walk away when it got steamy and we'd come back a month later. So it takes time, you know, this doesn't happen overnight. People look at us now and they're like, wow, but it literally probably took like a good solid 4 years to get to a really strong place. But like I said, a lot of communication. Communication is key. And empathy. You know, when someone says something that you don't agree with, agree to disagree. You don't have to battle them every time. And we figured that out too.
Was this like someone's idea? Was it like, oh, it was my idea to go to therapy? And when that idea came out,
Yeah, I introduced the idea because I was also writing the book. And as I was writing, it wasn't even a book at first, I was journaling. So as I was journaling, I was reading other books, self-help books, you know, watching YouTube videos and really figuring out ways that this could work if we all could just get on the same page. So when they saw how serious I was, they got on board because ultimately it's definitely something we wanted for our family and for, you know, ourselves. We wanted peace. No one wants, who wants to live in misery like that forever, to the point when you drop your kid off, you can't even say hello. It's nasty. So
I love that. I love how you said it's like you went back to your first point of it takes one person, and it sounds like you had a vision essentially, and once people catch the vision, it's easy to go, oh yeah, this ideally, but it's also easy to question the motives of other, you know what I mean?
And that's why it takes time. And I can't blame anybody for, you know, not trusting the motive at first, because you just don't know, you know. So it takes time and consistency to see the conversation going in the same place and upward for people to really believe that, okay, she's serious, he's serious, we're doing this for our kid, for our family. Let's all get down on the same train, you know?
Yeah. I think, sorry, I reflect off my own story because it helps me to frame questions, but yeah, the same thing. We ended up going to counseling years later, and I asked for over a year, and my wife was questioning my motives the whole year until she finally was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll go. And then, you know, similar thing to you. So are there places where in this, it's because to a person listening, it can feel like a utopia, right? And I live far from utopia, or our viewers live far from it, right? They living in the hood, place we call the Central District, the South End in Seattle, wherever they're at, right? They're in Inglewood right now, and they're like, yo.
From the hood.
Yeah.
I'm from Harlem, he's from the Bronx. We have hood mentality. We know when to get hood when it's time. So it's not a matter of where you're from. I think it's where you want to be at. And we both knew where we wanted to be and where we wanted our kids to see us. And we used that as our springboard.
So then are there times where your ideals, because you're living in separate homes, and so are there times where your ideals clash, where it's like everyone goes on different journeys in life, and so one person saying he can get a cell phone, and the other one's like, not now and not this age, or I want him to go to this school. No, I want him to go to that school. Like, you know what I mean? Like, do they clash? And then how do you guys deal with that when he's got a wife over here and you guys are blended family? How do you deal with that?
For the most part, on decisions like that, we do see eye to eye, but there have been times where, you know, for example, my son wanted a dog. They do not want a dog. So I said, well, I'm going to support him with the dog. And they made it very clear they don't want the dog to come to their house. It doesn't make my life any easier, but it's a decision that I have to make on my own to you know, help my son feel like he can have this relationship with the dog. So there are little things like that where you just have to let it be what it is. But like, as far as like bedtime schedules, where, you know, at their house, he has 2 little brothers. So they prefer him to go to sleep a little earlier there. Whereas at my house, it's just him. So I give him an extra half an hour here. So we do have that conversation so that it's clear to him, this is only what you're doing here because you don't have brothers here. But when you're there, you have to go to sleep at this time. So once again, it's all about clear, transparent communication between everybody.
Wow, that's dope. Especially because he also gets to learn a different level of, I have an only child. And so just being able for him to have that connection with his brothers and to know that he's a part of a community when he's over there, you know, he gets to taste the freedom with mama, but when he gets over there, it's kind of like, yeah.
It's a great balance.
Yeah. Okay. I have one more question. Why is it so important, in your opinion, you wrote this book, so to me, you must have felt passionate about it. You walked the journey. You must have felt called and somewhere compelled. Why is it so important for us to learn this lesson of blending families and how to do it?
I think it's important because, especially as Black people in America, especially, it has been really hard for us to not only master the family, the importance of family dynamic, but to understand the importance of healing and breaking family karma and being able to pick up the pieces that we may feel like we don't need, when in reality we do need those pieces in order to heal. So for me, the book was it was my blueprint, and I look at it as a gift to the world because I am very transparent. I witnessed my grandmother do exactly what I did, as far as like take a broken relationship where kids are involved and bring those two families together with love. My grandmother she became really close friends with my father's father, his new wife. And she did that because she really wanted to create this family and not have a lifetime of discord and anger towards the man in the situation. And I think that, women, my sisters, my Black women, they reach out all the time and they leave comments like, "You good? I don't know how you could do that. I wouldn't be able to do that." And I'm just laughing because, yeah, you can do that. You can totally do that. If you have a kid that you ultimately want to see happy and healthy and thriving, you could do that. It's not, for me, it's not about me. It's not about what makes me feel like, I guess, threatened or in the beginning, of course, you're uncomfortable a little bit because it's strange, it's new, but you can get over that the same way you can get over anything that's uncomfortable. So for me, the book it's a gift, it's a blueprint for healing, because you cannot blend until you heal. That's bottom line. You can't do it, it won't work. And so the first 3 chapters are all about healing. And then I get into, the first time I spoke to Alicia and the first time we had our real woman to woman and what that looked like. And then also, picking up those pieces that I spoke of earlier with Swizz, all the broken pieces where we felt like we hated each other at one point, and realizing that we needed each other in order to raise this child that we had. So picking up those pieces, putting them back together, and just all having the same goal to live a healthy, happy life. And I think that I know that we've accomplished that. And like I said, the book, the blueprint is not for everyone right away, because everyone has to be on the same page. Yeah. But once you hit that page of actually wanting to do what's right for your child and heal yourself, anybody could blend and co-parent.
I love that. This is Mashonda. This is her book, Blend. I need y'all to go cop that because it's dope. Sis, you are an inspiration. It really is a blueprint. And I mean that to people. I just want to say to anyone out there who's in a similar situation. Maybe you're with a boyfriend and it didn't work out, or you were married and it didn't work out. There is light at the end of the tunnel. You can live again. You can heal. You can have better days. I promise you it will happen. but cop the book so you can get the knowledge and honestly walk with somebody who did it and not be alone on your journey. And that's a beautiful thing. So
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is Mashonda, Millennial Parenting, 9th annual.
Yes.
Let's go, people. Peace and love.
Thank you.
Wow, that was so dope, right?
It was. I was able to had some reference points in there and what she was saying. Really hit home.
Okay, so that was us in our home talking to Mashonda. Get over it, people. We had a great time talking with her, and that was super dope. We actually got a chance to read her book. Please go out and buy it. Blend is a dope. What was one of your thoughts on reading her book?
It was very practical. She really did a lot of self-work and really talked about the women's ego, which I don't think we touch on at all, ever, really, and really recognizing, that's what that is when you probably think it's something else.
Good part is I don't have an ego, never have, and so for that reason, humility is all me. Anyways, that was super, super dope. I had a blast, and not only that, I've had a blast on this entire time. I hope you guys have enjoyed the ride. This has been the 9th annual Through the Eyes of Art, brought to you by
Millennial Parenting.
Yes, brought to you by U.S. Bank. Give me one of our partners. The Museum of Pop Culture.
Jinx.
Oh, come on, man. Africa Town, the Black Marriage Movement, Seattle Emerald.
One Vibe Africa.
Yeah, and us.
The chosen few.
Hey, peace and love. We'll see y'all next year. God bless.